Peace to the tribe, peace to the collective. Is Hood with another video. Today we're going to be discussing the new moon in Gemini. Um, we utilize new moons for setting intentions, working with our particular energy, and living a life that we personally want to live. And the challenge to this way of thinking is, anything can happen, and that is true. But when we reference the anything that could happen, we have to, think about businesses that have been built. We have to think about political campaigns that have been won, real changes that have been made. That falls into the bucket of anything can happen. So, why not be strategic? Why not utilize all of the energy available so that you could succeed in whatever endeavor you are pursuing? So, new moon in Gemini is a very powerful time because this is the second new moon in Gemini from a sidereal perspective. Is one at the beginning of the constellation and then one at the end of the constellation. And when we reference Gemini, we're working with our mind. And when we think about our mind, we must come to the conclusion that it is not static. It is very malleable. It is very changeable. So, Mercury led people, those who have prominent placements in Gemini, Virgo, things of that nature, y'all or we, I'm not necessarily Mercurian, but because there is particular points in my life where my mind was static. It couldn't change. Even if you said, Kyrie, if you do A, B, and C, you will get D. Pause. And I would be like, yeah, I'm gonna do E, F, G, H. And then be like, damn, I could have just did. Like I tell people all the time, I always tell my kids, man, I basically grew up 1 degree of separation from LeBron James. Literally, Maverick was a family friend. I've spent the night over his house. I've kicked it with Maverick when he was a teenager. But when I was a teenager and he was a teenager, I couldn't see the light from the darkness. What I'm saying is, you will get plenty of opportunities in understanding and understanding Gemini, Mercury. You always have an opportunity to take advantage of the opportunity. The trick that the mind is going to play is that, damn, the past is where I really fucked up at and I'll never recover. If you're alive and you have sound mind and sound body, even if you a little crazy, even if you're a little disabled, you can pursue a life of positive endeavors because the mind is malleable. The mind is changeable. So the new moon in Gemini is an intention to really work with your mind. And so this is what we're going to get into in this particular broadcast. I'm going to give you the esoterics, a little bit of the metaphysical, a little bit of the mythology, and then I'm going to bring it into new moon in Gemini based on your particular rising sign. Okay. So, with that being said, man, sit back, relax, and enjoy this particular content. New moon in Gemini video coming up. Peace to the tribe, peace to the collective. Hopefully, everybody is doing well out there in these crazy streets, wherever you wherever you are located at. So yeah, I will look at this a little later. I got an email as soon as this video started. All right, cool. I am not a criminal. Cool, 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 cool. So make sure y'all join the Substack. The link is in the description. I have a new article on the Substack that is titled the same as this particular video. A new moon in Gemini, a ritual of return, or a return to ritual, however you want to look at it, because we're dealing with the energy of return, right? Who remembers the end of The Color Purple? You know, that was God, that was an ending, right? Suge Avery going to the church, singing with her father. That's the energy. And the modern human, I'm not going to say what they will do, but it's a lot of, like, self-deletion in more ways than one, instead of just simply returning home. That is the energy. Now, one level of the energy is a person ascending, doing their own thing, being able to go to different coffee shops and things of that nature, whatever that means, right? Going to a restaurant at night, getting some escargot. I don't even know what that is, but you order it because you don't know what it is. And you've seen people order it in a movie and it's like, oh, I'm living the life. But see, you're not in the flow of energy, right? It goes duality, singularity, duality, singularity, duality, singularity. It is the return of the particular energy that's so important. But the modern human just thinks ascension, singularity. I don't need nobody. I never needed nobody. I may want somebody, but when I get with somebody, I don't even work with that person because I'm too centered in my own personal dialectic. When we reference Gemini, we're referencing twins. So twins, for a lack of better words, is duality. And in order to reflect on duality, you have to learn how to work with other people and other things. Mainly, if you think about the things that you're comfortable with, but you also have a whole other world with things that you are not comfortable with. And so the normal basic human understanding is to specifically just deal in a realm of comfort, what feels right, what people suggest to you. And I like her, so I'm going to do what she wants me to do, right? Even though this is not something that I want to do. So therefore, when you are in uncomfortable positions, do you feel the shadow work taking place, or do you feel your fight or flight? Because it is a story to tell in reference to new moon in Gemini. And when all the dust settles, I'm going to tell y'all that story. But the dust haven't settled yet, and that's how you mess up the magic, by talking about things before they actually solidify. But y'all will see it, and it's a very new moon in Gemini story, because my moon is in Gemini, and this is just energy that I'm not even comfortable with. Let's be clear. Very uncomfortable realms to your soul, or Mercury will put you in a tricky situation. So therefore, you got to use your mind, you got to use your body, you got to use your soul to get out of that situation. Because if you're just doing whatever the hell you want to do, you're going to get into you're going to reach a particular point where Mercury is going to come in and say, all right, this fool is not getting it. Let's put him in extra fight or flight mode. Let's put her into some serious shit to now, oh, now you want to burn a candle. Oh, now you want to bring out the sage. Well, why wasn't you doing that last week? Because you thought shit was sweet. Right? And so therefore, returning to your roots, returning to what works is going to work. But if you look at your life and your beingness as a mechanism, and you're not actually working through the mechanics, then things are not going to turn out the way you're going to turn out. The same way as if I'm trying to drive with my foot on the brake. That's not the mechanism for the car to move forward. That's a mechanism for the car to stop. So utilizing your mind in 2026 with these things right here, your mind and these things, you can make some shit shake. Because in 2020 fucking 2002, you had to take your goddamn ass to the temp service. They had to do a piss test, a drug test, a paternity test, just so you could goddamn work as a backstop for Walmart. Now you got your phone. It's about 100 apps you can download to get a job, and you could be working from your phone. Or just take a picture of your ID. Yeah, you hired. No interview, no, just come. We gonna pay you tomorrow. We in a whole different world. So if you're using your mind, like using your mind to do what you need to do in life, oh, you cooking with grease. But if your mind is in a negative space because things have happened, your mind is in a negative space because things have happened, that is not a reason to quit. That is a reason to return to that immortal side of you, that side of you that has the questions. So when you ask, why does Mercury play tricks? Why does Ishu play tricks? Why does Nanabozo play tricks? Because you wasn't spiritual enough. And the spiritual shit is not some things that you do because, I think that it would be a good idea if I did some spiritual shit. The spiritual shit is the thing that is the etymology of spirit is breathing. So just look at Gemini energy as a chance to revive you. Because it's some people in reference to the Gemini, in reference to the mind, they'll never change. And people like that. Maybe you are a person like that, where this ornery negative energy that exists in the person's mind is on repeat. And it never plays a new song. Every time you see your friend, she's talking about her baby dad. Mind you, the shit have happened 5 years ago. The mind can only operate in the now. Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. So whatever we focused on in the future, whatever we focused on in the past, is somewhat of a fucked up perspective, no matter how positive or how negative it makes us feel. What Mercury will do is bring you into the present moment. And usually the present moment is a complete and utter shit show. Because while you was living in the past, while you was living in the future, you wasn't taking care of business. So when you get pulled down into the future, you're able to understand and understand how to move forward with the particular energy, no matter how bad the shit show looks. So be sure to follow me on Instagram at the Hood Mystic. That's where it goes down at. I'ma hopefully get some clips from this video on there. But yeah, stay connected. DM me if you got any questions, comments, or concerns, things of that nature. Make sure you give me a follow. I will follow back. And yeah, follow me on the gram. Why don't you? So today we're talking about the new moon in Gemini. Mercury ruled Gemini. Gemini is Latin for twins. And when we discuss spirituality, metaphysics, occultism, we gotta understand and understand our doppelganger or our twin, where we have our magic and we have our science, we have our realism, but these twins work together. You have an immortal soul, you have a higher self, you have guardian angels, you have the Most High, him or herself, working in your favor at all times. And you could easily, without no church, without no temple, without no YouTube video, immerse your mind in all things holy. Or you could reflect on the things that have happened, the things that will happen, and therefore put yourself in an emotional state of being that will ultimately be calcified and, restructured and built up over time. Because the mind is a terrible thing to waste. When we, as people in the world, hear stories of slavery, rape, all types of atrocities, genocide, senseless crimes, our mind visualizes it and revisualizes it, and it takes over, because it's only so much that we can particularly process at one time. So the trick is always to bring it into a present frame of mind. In the present frame of mind, it might be boring, it might be dull, it might be something that you don't fully understand. But the present frame of mind is a mind that represents clarity. And so whatever needs to be sent upon you, you would be able to receive it, because you're not fixated and focused on what could be or what has happened. What could be, what has happened. What's going to happen at work today? What's going to happen at school? What's going to happen when I go home? Man, I hope this day is quick at work. Damn, I can't wait to get home. Damn, I got to go to work tomorrow. All of these continuous thoughts take you out of the present moment. In the present moment, if you can sustain it, you will look like a magician 6 months from now, a year from now, no matter what's going on externally. Because the key to all of this particular energy is to be so clear about it, to be so intentional about it. Because you could bear witness to restaurants and businesses and real estate companies and wealth management firms in all of the city blocks. But you can also go to the hood on 21st Street and see, people on the streets using drugs, leaning over. So at a certain point, you can use your mind to destroy you, or you can use your mind to build something amazing. One of it is going to be having, and it don't matter. This is like across the board, because what'll happen is, well, my baby dad was so horrible, hood, I can't stop thinking about it. Hood, you just don't know how bad my baby mama was. I can't stop thinking about it. I gotta pay this amount for child support. I can't stop thinking about it. I'll never make it out here in these streets. And if you have these particular thoughts all day, every day, there's no way you're going to be able to tap into the magic. And the person will say, well, this spiritual stuff is so complicated. This magical stuff is so complicated. I was reading a book and it was talking this arcane language and it had all of these weird symbols. I don't know what the fuck it's talking about. Maybe this magical stuff is not cut out for me. And I'm telling you right now, whenever you look at upon spiritual stuff and it look confusing, that's kind of to throw you off. The real shit is to clear your mind, banish all thoughts, be in the present moment. Because when you reference the Gemini principle, the doppelganger principle, the shadow principle, it's a lot of energies working on your behalf, triple time, quadruple time, overtime. And all you have to do is immerse yourself in these particular thoughts. I promise you that house is already for you, that car is already for you. It's just sitting in the lot somewhere. That house ain't nobody living in it. Matter of fact, people in the house right now fixing it up for you right now. Right? You're not thinking about it though. You're thinking about the fact that you ain't got nowhere to live, right? You think about the fact that you ain't got no car. Your man right now getting out of a bad relationship. You know what I'm saying? With a girl that, they not even together no more. He getting himself together. Your girl, she don't even think about men. She waiting to see you. And the moment that she see you, she's going to know. Right? And what you think about, man, I don't got nobody to love me, man. I'm just lonely. I'm single. I've been single for 5 years. Niggas love hitting you with that. I've been single for so long. But your partner is already in the wings. You just haven't reached that particular point in time yet. And I promise you, as a man that's lived 40 years, all of the things that I wanted to happen happened. But it didn't happen when I wanted to happen it. So I filled the gaps with bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So what I will always say to anybody, what you want to happen is going to happen. You should start living like it's going to happen. That should be the only thought. But what if it don't happen, hood? It's not possible. As a 40-year-old man, it's impossible for the things that you truly want to happen not to happen. The only thing that can happen is that you don't think that is going to happen, so you fill your spaces with bullshit. Okay? And so setting intentions is a real thing. Working with Gemini energy is a real thing. This is the 27th degree of Gemini. The sun have been in Gemini for the past 27 degrees, the past month, give or take. Your mind has been tested. Your mind has been stretched to see what the limits of this motherfucker is. How far can you take it? You satisfied in this penthouse. Well, what if you move down to the basement? Oh, now you're not satisfied, huh? Well, why was the penthouse so satisfying to you? Right? Why was all of these things that you thought was the worst thing ever? What if I made it worser? Oh, worser ain't a word, hood. I know. But you know how it gets out here in these streets. The reason that I've been saying everything that I've been saying up to this particular point is, are you going to set new moon intentions for the next 28 days? Or are you going to sit and be like, well, anything could happen, hood, it's just, my baby mama, she be tripping. I set plans before, but then soon as, things started to manifest and then she started tripping because, she got something against me, hood. You got it against yourself because when you got to start to visualize, like right in front of me, I see this rider, like I don't know, I can't forget what you call these trucks. I used to drive one, but it ain't the semi. Yeah, it's a moving truck, but it's a type of truck, like a semi truck, and like I can't think of it. But you could get a license to. You don't got to have a CDLs to drive this type of truck. Anyways, it's a rider truck. Whoever started the rider truck moving business, they set their fucking intentions to build the rider truck business. It just didn't happen. Nigga didn't say, well, anything can happen, so it might not happen if I start my business. So let me not start it and just wait for it to just magically happen. When I get my shit together, right, then I'm gonna start building it. No, you set your intentions. It might be impossible. I'm going to have a nationwide moving company. That seemed impossible to a person who ain't never did it. So what I'm saying is, if you tend to, and this is financially, this is in relationships, this is across the board. If you're not having no real intentions on building it, because usually with spiritual motherfuckers, they just want shit at the end of the day, right? You get with your spiritual partners, and you be like, all right, let's start this LLC, or let's start trading, or let's start doing some real shit. Niggas get real, man, I gotta go to work. My girl got this little thing she like us going to on Thursday nights. We do karaoke, bruh. So I can't meet every day, right? I need my Tuesdays and my Thursdays. My girl, she get off work and she just wanted to be us time. And it's like, all right, cool. Let's just let's put this generational wealth to the side. Then cool, that's fine, right? um, Crazy shit because you watch the movies like I watched the movies. The boys that did Mac and Apple, them niggas was locked in, right? They was locked in. And if somebody did come, they came in to pitch a hand. All right, we need help with this motherboard. But you know what I'm saying? New Moon and Gemini is that serious. And you have to really sit back and say, damn, I've been and this is some shit, and maybe I'm the only one that ever been through this stuff. Cause I've been trying to move for since 2019, right? It's 2026. That's 7 years. That's a theme for this particular new moon, too. But beyond that, working with my wife, we moved in 7 days. Now, mind you, for 7 years, I've been thinking something wrong with me on the inside. I've been praying to Jehovah, Yahweh, Yaldabaoth, Baphomet, Prince, Jesus. And really, I just wasn't really. She was like, all you got to do is get on Zillow and just send out applications. I was like, oh, yeah, people keep calling me for places. Oh, we about to go look for a place right now. Oh, we about to put it. Oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. It's easy. I didn't know it was easy. For 7 years, I thought it was hard. My mind said it was hard. Pause. And I want you to think about the things in your life right now that your mind is saying, oh, I can't do that. I can't start that record label. I can't start that business. And this is just something to whereas we're going to use as fuel when it comes to our future endeavors. It's actually easy when you put the leg miles into it, right? What the Bible say? Faith without action or faith without work is null and void. But really setting your intentions You got to think about, this is how my life is going to turn out. If my vision for my life is to do this and this, and then you in a relationship and you saying, well, babe, the vision is this, and they like, well, yeah, bitch, I gotta go to work. But what about the kids though? Who gonna watch the kids? You want to start a restaurant and we got kids, girl? Get out. You in La La Land. Then you gonna know this is how this shit gonna turn out. And you gotta be in 2026 in a worldwide simulation at this particular point. None of this shit is real. And you gotta contend with somebody that think that the simulation is real versus you, like you should know that you could accomplish your dreams. And you know the only thing that held you back is that your baby dad cheated on you in 1997. And that's been the thing, you know what I'm saying? You and your homie fell out in 2003 over a girl at a party, and you still can't get over it. Grandma died. That was your favorite grandma. She was the one that was giving you candy and money and things of that nature. Now she gone. So let that be the reason that you can't set intentions on July 14th. So yeah, you got to be so serious about this particular time, right? You got to not look at it like, oh, it's just a new moon, whoop de doo. And then at the same time, you got this degree, you got this certificate, you got this business, but ain't no intentions behind it. Man, the business is slow. What's your intentions behind the business? Oh shit, I just hope I get more customers, more money. Faith without work is null and void. How you going to do that? See, once you set the intention down, then you got to label the work that's going to bring the intention into reality. Rider truck. I'm sure the nigga had in his mind, rider, truck. We gonna rent trucks out. We gonna have people do moving. Companies gonna get a whole fleet, right? It's gonna be a point where companies, they don't even own trucks. They just rent our trucks, bro. That's a brilliant idea, Ryder. All right, man. One day it's going to manifest. One day, man. I just know it's going to manifest, bro. Let's crack open these brewskis, bro. Yeah. Hey, anybody got any coke? Yeah, dude. Let's get high and drunk. I'm sure it didn't go like that. I'm sure once the nigga had the idea, he had to get into the black and white. He had to get them forms going. He had to go to them credit agencies, and the credit agencies like, you know what? We not going to give you a loan. And the first credit agency he went to that didn't give him a loan, he went back to his homeboys. Man, they turned me down. Get the brewskis, bro. Where's the cocaine, bro? Let's get high. Let's get drunk, bro. I'm sure it didn't go like that. I'm sure the 30th loan person finally gave him a loan after trying 29 times. But that's intention. Intention is what I visualize and what I'm willing to work towards and what I'm willing to block out from everything outside of this particular intention is a distraction. Because at the same time, Mr. Ryder was building the Ryder company, the waste management man was building the trash company. You know, people hate they trash, man. I'll pick that shit up for a fee. And you know what? I won't even charge people. I'll charge the city. Cause I know the city don't want to have their city full with trash, and they'll just give us $1 billion contract, bro. We can buy trucks, we can hire people, bro, and we can just sit back and just collect the back end on that shit, bro. Waste man, that's a great idea. They already call you waste man. What you gonna call a company? Waste management. Okay, we cooking. And the fact that Ryder was creating his company, the fact that U-Haul was creating his company, the fact that the trash is multiple trash companies, there, and I bring all these examples up to say, if you decide to make something of yourself, as far as moving forward with your intention, nobody is going to step in like, hey, what are you doing setting intentions and living your own personal life to way that you want to live? Don't you know your grandma died in 1997? You should be sad. You cannot come down here to the credit union and get a loan to start your business. Your baby daddy cheated on you in 97. Don't you know you gotta be still sad over this? You still, I'm telling you, it does not work like that. So, from duality to singularity, from exploring and exposing all of these particular things that life has gotten to show you, one thing is to say, I'm still here. I still have desires and I still want to lock in and towards to reaching my desires. And that's what a new moon in Gemini is about. You have to be in tune with yourself. You have to be in alignment with yourself, because the thing about all of this shit is that it can take you away from yourself. You got to go to an AA meeting or something. You know what I'm saying? It's somebody that's way worse than you figured it out. You know what I'm saying? And wherever you at, you could have nothing today and in a year's time, 2 years time, completely double and triple everything that you had lost previously. Right. And that's the time. That's the particular call for the energy. So we're going to look at the chart right now, get into a couple of transits that support in this new moon. I always want to bring this to the collective consciousness. We have Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus having a minor grand trine, and this is deep timeline alteration. Okay, previous to this, we talking about 2 years ago, you in a particular place and time that you never imagined yourself to be in, right? And after this 9 year period, you're going to be so deep into a different timeline that you are going to look at 2023 as the point in time where life completely shifted for you, right? And so this is what, and right now we feel in deep alterations. Another astrological thing we want to bring to our awareness is Mercury is in its home sign of Gemini, right? Mercury, it rules Gemini, is exalted in Gemini, and it has a strong resonance in Gemini. And sometimes people will say, well, what is Mercury specifically? Mercury is your money, okay? Your mind. You ever heard Lil Wayne song, Money on My Mind, okay? Um, you ever heard Snoop Dogg say, I got my mind on my money and my money's on my mind? Okay. What are they talking about? They're talking about Mercury. See, people will either love money or hate money because, once again, how do you love or hate something that's inanimate, right? It's just a dollar bill. How are you going to love or hate that dollar bill? And why is a president's face on it? Because that's the symbolism of the thing being living. Okay, living is, the president is dead, but that dollar, right? You drop $100 bill on the ground, somebody going to see it and pick it up, all right, and shove it in their pocket. But at the same time, if it was a Popeyes box with half eaten chicken wings on it, you'll walk right past it. Well, that's showing you that money is you, it might be a little kid, okay? And most of us will stop and say, little kid, where your mom at? But it's some people that will drive and walk right by that little kid. Ain't my baby, ain't my business. I ain't dealing with it. But you will look past $100 bill. Nope, you're gonna pick that $100 bill up. It's gonna be your lucky day. Money is not dead. Money is alive. So when you talk about Gemini, you talk about Mercury, you talk about your mind, it's so The person that's always thinking about boys and thinking about girls, right? Generally the brokest one out the bunch. But the person that's thinking about finances and doing right by his finances or doing right by our finances, treating the money right, investing in it, not spending it, not getting rid of it, right? What if you had a boyfriend, right? And as soon as he came around, you just gave him to somebody else? He wouldn't feel wanted by you. So if you have money and every day you're thinking about spending it, you don't want it active, you don't want it. And money is consciousness, right? And it's not something that I'm making up. It's right in here, money magic. Okay, I'm gonna just read a quick excerpt from it. Generally money is ascribed to planet Mercury. That's one level to it. Okay. um Generally money is ascribed to the planet Mercury. All right. In a different Thus, the figure of Mercury can be found in the most diverse contexts whereby it should make no difference as to whether we are dealing with the Roman god Mercurius or his forerunner, the Greek god Hermes or Ishu or Nanabozo. I'm adding this stuff in because the mind is going to produce the its own reality. And so the thing about money is that that's kind of like a personal thing. Even if you in a relationship, or no matter it doesn't matter. When you think about how you utilize your mind, it's either going to birth money or it's not going to birth money. And so one has to just simply get into this particular flow because it is the most funnest, easiest thing that you ever. And this is from a 40-year-old man. I'm telling you, I've lived life. I've used my body for money. Okay. I'm not even going to get into that point. That's a dark period of my life. And some of y'all still using y'all body, y'all sexual body for money. But let's get out of those deep waters, right? It's an amazing thing when you able to use your mind to manifest, okay? Because and this is not something that's just specifically for me or other people. This is for everybody, right? Anybody can utilize their mind because once again you might feel like, oh, money ain't everything, money is evil, the people, Elon Musk is evil, he got $1 trillion, I ain't got $2, that's evil. Okay, then that's how you're going to live it out. But if you can truly understand these particular principles as one would deal with astrology, you want to deal with astrology to make it as most plain, most relatable as it possibly can. Because if you're not dealing with astrology in that manner, then what's the reason for you to deal with it? So in your particular how to read natal charts book by me, Kyrie Anthony, available on Amazon, when it's like, well, what do Mercury mean? Mercury means money. Okay. What does Mars mean? Mars means, my magnetism or my sexuality, right? Those are two distinct energies, right? How many dudes is out here getting used for their money, right? And a girl not sexually attractive to him. How many dudes is out here with no money, but the girls are sexually attractive to him? Them is two distinct energies, but maybe you haven't identified it in yourself or in your chart. But if you can, once you start looking at your chart in that way, right, you will start to be like, okay, I can't. This is how I manifest the money. This is how I'm attracting love in my life. This is why my family situation is the way it is. And the more you begin to understand yourself astrologically, but in a relatable sense, the easier your life is going to be. Because once again, not to get all woo woo and spiritual, but we are spiritual beings, right? Having a human experience. And part of this twin energy shit is to fully get into the part of ourselves that is a spiritual being. So why is Mercury representing money? Because your spiritual beingness wants you to be successful. That's why you shouldn't motherfucking use your spirituality when things get tough. You know what I'm saying? Now you want to bring out the sages. Now you want to light the candles. Now you want to burn the incense. Now you want to meditate because some shit done happened, right? You just want to be in this flow as much as possible, even when things is going good. One of the most powerful spiritual mantras that ever could exist is the mantra of thank you, right? Thank you in advance, right? Thank you for making it happen. And thank you for the more that's about to come, right? Also, from the astrological observations, we have Venus and Leo square Uranus and Mars, and this is the great letting go of energies that no longer serve you. Yes, but why are you letting it go? Everything that you letting go is preparing you for something greater in the future. And for you to be able to take life so seriously moving forward for yourself, for your family, to understand that taking accountability even for things not happening the way that it was supposed to happen in the past. Venus square Uranus is just that energy where, like, if you look at the chart, Venus is like ahead of the pack. So Venus is seeing what's happening for you in this like in this particular paradigm. Venus can see, right? Venus can, it knows, right? And it's sending energy back like, yeah, shorty, that was you felt like was a mild inconvenience, she is going to be a full-on issue in the future. You need to let her go, right? That job that's kind of getting on your nerves, they gonna suck you in into some weird. You gotta let that go. And so Venus is very psychic. Uranus is very psychic, and when they're squaring is a part of life that nobody really wants to deal with. It's facing those conclusions that don't really sit right with you, but you might feel like it is for the better. Once again, you could look at the chart and be like, well, there is something that I should let go, but I don't want to let it go. That's going to be in your. That's what you able to do. You know what I'm saying? The stars compel. They don't impel. They don't force you to do anything. So some people can look at a new moon and like, that's just another day, right? Because at a certain level, it is just another day. But at another level, where you talk about alignment, direction from something that's much more knowledgeable than us, it is the structure and the order of the stars. So finally, we looking at Jupiter, which is in Cancer. In the first deacon of Cancer, the deacon of love is opposing Pluto in the first to second deacon of Capricorn. And so you want to look at the house that Pluto is in your chart, and this will indicate major shifts that's taking place in that house. And these shifts are things that you've been wishing for to happen for at least 2 to 3 years, maybe even longer, right? The fact of Jupiter in Cancer energy, um, and once again, the stars compel, they don't impel. Part of everything in reference to a positive shift is going to be you making that first step forward, right? And sometimes you don't have nothing but to think positive, and that's a good first step. Just to think positive, just to think in the realms of, okay, maybe we can shift out of this particular energy that felt like a hellhole, right? So finally, I say you will see major shifts in that house, but you gotta act on faith, right? So Mercury might impel you even further to act on faith by giving you a tricky situation, right, on the background. But if Mercury is not, in your life like that, and you just have to think of it within yourself, these are serious things that you're really trying to push yourself out of. Jupiter's influence on Pluto is actually the key that's unlocking the door. So once again, if you acting on faith now and whatever you really wanting to do, what you going to notice is that Jupiter's luck, optimism is really going to play. So the reason that I say that is because you might be thinking, once again, moon, new moon in Gemini, in a static way, right? And static don't necessarily mean bad. It means fixed. It means unable to change. So it's like, I can't have an orgasm when I'm having sex. And that's a static thought, right? But the acting on faith is to just think, man, I just be having all types of orgasms when I have sex, right? And then that's just the step that leads you into that direction. That, like, you might stumble into a book that's like, you crack it open, it's like how to have all types of orgasms when you having sex, and you're like, oh wow, and you read it, and then all of a sudden you having all types. So I'm sorry for that example, but it's the only example that popped in my head. Is that an indictment on my mind? Probably. But am I a saint? No. Are you a saint? No. So nobody is a saint. So about Jupiter for like the past 2 to 3 videos. So, and part of me wanting to have this conversation was a larger part of me wanting to reintroduce the concept of Dharma, which Dharma is kind of like the cheat code. And there is no right way to explain Dharma. When you try to look it up, it's like, well, there is no English word for Dharma, but we got a whole bunch of other words that could possibly be for Dharma. But in working with Jupiter, because some people, as I'm discussing these particular energies, a person might feel like, well, shit, I don't even know what I want. I'm just so outside of my energy. I don't know how to turn left or to turn right. And my solution or suggestion is to bring yourself into Dharma. When you look at the stars, I bring up this example a lot, but I'll bring it up again. The stars don't just randomly do whatever they want to do, right? The stars act in a certain order, a certain level of expectation. And who's to say that the order came from them, right? The order is just something that might come from a higher being or a higher celestial type of energy. So as the individual has to just be like, am I going to do whatever I want to do? Or am I going to figure out what my Dharma is? And Jupiter, right? You might want to, if this interesting you, tie back into some of, I have a Jupiter and Cancer video, but I also did the full moon and Sagittarius, where Jupiter rules Sagittarius. But even in this particular conversation, where the new moon is in the Punarvasu nakshatra, Jupiter rules that particular nakshatra. So ultimately, I want to reiterate this message because people might listen to this and say, well, I just do whatever the hell I want to do when I want to do it and how I want to do it. I get whatever job I want to get. I deal with every guy I want to get with, every girl I want to get. I just do whatever I want to do. Well, that nothing about that is Dharma. So if you come to a particular conclusion of confusion, then the goal is to bring yourself into Dharma or bring yourself into Jupiter because, pause, uh, when you factor in Jupiter, you're going to factor in Dharma. And when you factor in Dharma, the simple way to put it, how a Westerner would put it, is you'll just be lucky as hell, right? Things will just happen in your favor when you are doing the things that are meant for you. So, what this looks like a lot of time is discipline and structure and all these particular things that in our comfy cozy way of being we don't really like tapping into, right? Numerous definitions of the word dharma, such as firm, steadfast decree, statute, law, practice, custom, duty, right, justice, virtue, morality, ethics, religion, religious merit, good works, nature, character, quality, property. Yet each of these definitions is incomplete. While the combination of these translations do not convey the total sense of the word. In common parlance, dharma means right way of living in the path of rightness. Dharma also has connotations of order, and when combined with the word santana, it could be used as eternal truth. So, once again, how does one establish dharma? From my observation, it's not what another person is going to tell you what's right or wrong. And this is the key point. It's what your soul. It is like when you're dealing with twin energy in reference to Jupiter, because of Zeus is the father of Castor and Pollux, right? So what that shows to me is that there is always a higher order that one has to submit to. And so the easy thing that shit for me maybe 2 months ago, right? Because things aren't happening to you, things are happening for you, first off. So it could be some horrible news or something that's in the mail or some type of letter you get or something that like, oh, this horrible thing happened to me. Well, really, it happened for you, first of all, and you created it because at one level you was going to overcome, and when you did overcome, you was going to be sitting right. So, with all of that being said, what brought this about for me is that I went back into Edgar Casey libraries and I started reading my audiobook, Channeling the Higher Self. Right. And it has been points in times where I forget and I'm channeling what I'm going through. I'm channeling, whatever's happening. I'm just channeling the external. And really, you got to get into a energy where you channel your higher self, because that's the only person or entity or energy that know what's right for you. And this is a key point. This to me is Dharma. This to me is Jupiter, right? And that's how I overall understand it. So, as I stated earlier, the new moon is in Punarvasu Nakshatra. And the Punarvasu Nakshatra is a lunar mansion that occupies the last decans of Gemini, but also the first decans of Cancer. And so, as I stated earlier, Jupiter rules this particular nakshatra, but there's also like a dualistic energy associated with it, where you have the Ibije and Yemaya. And if I use the word father, understand and overstand that the mother can be interchangeable with this particular energy. Uh, and that's really the key, right? The mother and the father are actively one and they operate in two different manners, but they still have a vital role of taking care of things that we as humans aren't capable of taking care of. And so part of this particular life is to bring ourselves, because you have the children and you have the mom. Part of this particular transit is to bring yourself into submission. And so when you think about the mind, if the mind is not in submission to the higher self, then the mind is like the child that gets to run the house. Your 3-year-old get to decide how to do everything. Well, of course, the bills aren't going to be paid. The diet is going. I mean, if the meal isn't packaged already, how is the kid even going to eat? So therefore, you will live a life where you making all of the decisions for yourself, and that is the symbolism of the mother and the father. It's to say the human has to anchor its mind to something more powerful. And what we could observe, the only thing that we could factor in what the higher forces are doing is that they operate in order. They don't go out of order. They don't go out of turn. They don't go outside of hierarchy. And so the humans observe the order of the planets and its relationship to Sirius A and Sagittarius A and say, oh, these planets listen to those planets and those stars. Let's create us a police force. And the way that we could dominate is that we operate in hierarchy. Let's start a government. And the way that we can dominate is we can operate in hierarchy. Now, you have a family that is thriving, and then you have a family that is suffering. Now, the mom and the dad, your children don't listen to you. Mom and dad, your children listen to you. Now, it's degrees to this particular conundrum. But if you have same body and same mind, you only telling your kids things that can help them. But you might have a child that listens to you and you like, look at my baby, graduating college, magna cum laude, about to start his career in Botswana, saving forest animals. He was always a good kid. And then you look at Roscoe's ass. Look at my baby. He getting locked up for petty larceny already. I gotta put some money on his books. This is just an example of the human anchoring his mind to his mom or his father versus the human not. Because the mind is a terrible thing to waste. But usually, and when you coming into 2026, there is no, we're all secular. There is no, even spiritualists, they even think they just, doing whatever they want to do. But if you're really serious about this shit and you really start to look at companies, armies, businesses, households, I ain't never got into a car and I read the owner manual and it read as, this is the car where we just let our mechanics do whatever the hell they wanted to do. They just built it under the specifications of how they felt that day. Please enjoy the Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles 5000. And you like, what the hell? They give you a goddamn Lego key. It don't even start. It don't even move. Of course it don't work because the engineers did whatever they wanted to. But if you opened up a Benz owner manual and it showed you, we've operated with a fine class of a standard that have been executed for generations and generations that make the Mercedes-Benz the toppest car of the line. You like, damn, I'm about to get in this motherfucker. I'm about to drive the hell out of this motherfucker. But then when you talk about spiritualists and they just like, I'm saying anything, I'm doing anything, I'm just, whatever, girl, whatever, bro. Trust me, bro. Then you have a problem. And it's a caveat to this particular energy, man, because once again, you saying I gotta follow these orders, but does that mean I gotta follow your orders? No. It ain't nobody's orders that you gotta follow but those of your higher self. And if you were like serious about like the God within you giving you orders and suggestions, you saying, well, nah, fuck that shit, then you bringing it on yourself. You bringing it on yourself. So a strange feature of Punarvaso, and this is from the Wisdom of the Nakshatras. I got that PDF. If you want the PDF, DM me on Instagram. Say, Hood, let me get that PDF. I want to learn more about the Nakshatras. Right? Free PDF. I'll just send it to you. DM me on Instagram. A strange feature of Punarvasu is that second attempted things are successful while the first attempt goes like a trial run. If at first you don't succeed, you can dust it off and try again. Man, I applied for a house. They turned me down. I ain't looked for a house in 7 years, man. You can dust it off and try again. Man, I hollered at this girl. She told me, get out of here on my dusty ass. I ain't talked to a girl in years, man. If at first you don't succeed, you can dust it off and try again, try again, try again. The philosophy of and so when you set in your new moon intention, you have to think about things that you've tried and didn't work and you never tried again. But you also have to think like when you was in your true primal authentic self, this is what you really wanted. But when it didn't happen, you shut that part of yourself off. Yeah, I wanted to do this thing. I tried to do a business and it didn't work out the first time. I had that business for a month. Ain't nobody show up but my mama hood. All my friends and family, they never showed up to my business, man. I ain't gonna never start no business again because when I started it, ain't no why would I start a business and I already started a business and it failed? If at first you don't succeed, you can dust it off and try again, try again, try again. The nature of the constellation is more male than female. The nose and fingers are the related body parts of this constellation. Another feature of this constellation is ritualism. Being the seventh constellation, they are well connected to some ceremonial order, and ritual. They are generally contented and happy beings, those who are born under the Punarvasu Nakshatra. But when we talk about ceremonial order, right, it's always in reference to a secret society. It's called the Order, right? Count Dracula. Well, this is a particular process of how things goes. And when you, a human being that's able to twerk on a handstand, right, drop it low and spread your ego open, girl, decide instead of twerking at this family reunion, I'm going to do a ritual. You will be rewarded for such actions because everybody is out here doing whatever they want to do. So if the individual brings it to within itself to say, I'm going to perform a ritual. This is ritualism. In Africa, they do rituals. In Australia, they do rituals. In England, they do rituals. In Asia, they do rituals. In South America, they do rituals. In North America, they do rituals. If you lived in the ocean, you would do rituals. Native Americans, Asian, everybody does rituals. Ritualism. It is a specific order. Why do we even care about the order? Because when the ancients looked at the stars and said, oh shit, Mars and just bite us for no reason, it's going to move 1 degree right every time. And Mercury gonna move faster than Mercury, but even though it moved faster than Mercury, it still have an order to it. What if we organized in such a way with order? What if our houses have orders? What if our men had order? What if our women had order? And a civilization decided that. And that civilization that decided that dominated all of the other civilizations, all of the animals that woke up and said, bro, I'm gonna just hang on this goddamn tree today. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want to do, bro. Cool, man. Me too, man. I'm gonna go by the river and swim. Because as soon as niggas start talking about their dreams and what they hope for, what's the first thing they say? Man, I just want to stop working. I just want to go to a beach. I just want to. And that's what we got dominated for in the first place. That's why you going to get dominated in the future. You do whatever you want to do and you don't have any order and nothing to be accountable for moving up to it. And I don't even mean it on some what him is doing, what her is doing. I'm talking about the ritualism of it. Because then when you think about ritualism, it's like, well, what is it? What is it? And why is it for? It is to restore the natural order, and it allows for the higher self to communicate much more clearly. So this particular nakshatra brought out two different mythologies that I wanted to bring forth. That of Lord Rama, which is Vishnu's seventh incarnation, and the key theme to his life story. I'm giving y'all the edited Cliff Notes version for elementary school, right? The moral of his particular story: Lord Rama was exiled out of the village for 14 years. He had to deal with wild beasts and clans going against him. And then when he made it home, he was brought into his full restorative royal position. The second story is that of the prodigal son. Now, it was two brothers. One brother stayed at home and the other brother left, and he was rich as hell, but he started messing with them girls. You know how them girls go. You know what I'm saying? And long story short, he wasted all his money and he ain't have nowhere to go, but he had to go back home. And he went home and he went to his dad, and his dad was like, he thought his dad was going to like shame him. Because mind you, his brother that was there, his dad would always be talking like, man, you need to be more like your brother. And he's like, why I need to be like him? He left. I'm here taking care of these goats, taking care of these chickens. How he better than me? And then when he get back, his brother like, now look at him. He broke, he poor, he ain't nothing. I know I'm better than him now. And what the dad do? The dad embraces the son that's been gone for 14 years like, son, I love you. I knew you was going to come back. Here go more money here. Like, I love you. You know what I'm saying? And that drove and that's the parable of the prodigal son, right? And these two stories mirror one another in two distinct ways, but also in the same way, right? The core moral of Lord Rama's exile is the unwavering commitment to Dharma, because what Lord Rama is the incarnation of Vishnu. And this is his path. This is his duty. This is what he's going to become, a god, one of the greatest gods. So him being exiled for 14 years does not strip that away, right? So Rama willingly sacrificed his royal comforts to honor his father's promise. It teaches that steadfast integrity, respect for family, and doing the right thing matter more than wealth and power. And in this day and age, people is doing any and everything for money, even not taking care of their mental health, right? It's this boxer named Adrian Bronner, and he got an alcohol problem, but I guess people don't understand that alcohol problems don't just manifest because a person loves alcohol. Alcohol is the only thing that's helping him deal with his mental health or his depression. But since he generates so much money for everybody around him, people have to watch him kill himself with the alcohol, but at the same time, not get him help, because obviously for him to get help means that he got to cut off that water faucet. So meaning that the right thing is for us to help him, or ultimately, I guess the real thing with alcoholism is that you can't help a motherfucker until they want to help themselves. So giving him millions of dollars and giving him access to all of this alcohol, you know, is going to be a process that It's just going to be never ending till something crazy happen, or until he deals with himself mentally and psychologically from a spiritual perspective and start healing that depression. So the second moral of the story of the prodigal son, it teaches that no matter how far someone strays, full repentance and humility will always be met with unconditional love and forgiveness. And this is the key point of the mind. The moon is in Gemini from a sidereal perspective. It's I don't study Western or tropical charts. I study sidereal charts. So basically, when you talk about the mind, you can get so far in this abyss, in this darkness, in this negative space, that you might feel that there is no redemption. There is no way of saving you, because you just feel that this way of thinking is just so bad and you'll never get over it, whatever the case may be. But you have to understand that unconditional love, God's love, is always there. So this is why I stated earlier, in the ability of using your mind is a powerful thing, where you let your thoughts go and simply anchor to the divine. And not only anchor yourself to the divine, you don't move until you hear a directive. Go get you some water. Go to the gym. Go take a walk. Go to sleep. Go water your plants. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just operating in a point where you anchor your mind in God's love. In the Cause this is the thing. You's a freaky guy, right? You done did some freaky stuff out here in these streets. Friends and family know you done did that freaky stuff. They ain't fucking with you. This is different from God's love, right? People will not like you. People going to condemn you. People are going to hate you. But this is different, because your mind cannot go inside of a person's mind and anchor itself to that. Your husband, your wife. Because if you anchor your mind to your husband's mind and one day he don't like you no more, then you don't like yourself. You see how that works? So, in a sidereal sense, the moon has been in Gemini. The new moon has been in Gemini twice, opening you up to how to work with your mind, and then finally getting you to a point to reflect on your mind. And your mind within itself is very powerful, but when you anchor your mind into something that's more powerful than itself, which is stimulated and simulated through order, that is going to bring you the greatest and latest manifestations in your life. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and move into this infomercial. And from there, we will get into the Sabian symbols, the cards, and then finally, New Moon and Gemini through the houses. Peace to the tribe, peace to the collective. Make sure you like the video if you like the video.
I'm getting ready to get my infomercial in. And then we're going to go into the libation. The information. Everybody got to have an infomercial or end up in the poorhouse. You see what I'm saying? Now,
so in the descriptions, the third description down, you will see a link that says books. Once you click that, it will go to my Amazon.com page, where it will show a robust selection of spiritual books stimulated in the areas of astrology, spirituality, chakras, wealth, magic, shadow work, things of that nature. If any of those topics interest you and you want to support this channel, go ahead and get you a book for a very low price in comparison to the information that's going to be offered to you. You can buy one book or buy them all. but the link is always going to be available. Third link down in the description. And I also want to invite y'all to whiterabbitpsych.com. Have a lot of things going over there. Introduce 2 new flavors to the family. If you're interested in psychedelic help, psychedelic medicine, chocolates, capsules, raw fruit, check us out. We going crazy. Also, join the White Rabbit newsletter. Get 30% off every weekend for those who subscribe to the newsletter. And finally, be sure to join the Substack. Link is also in the description. Have a new article out. For my premium members, we have the astrology through the houses. So we dropped the article 2 days ago. So if you wanted to get a heads up on the particular energy and get full access to the article, you can do so for as little as $5 a month when you join the Substack. Thanks for everybody who has subscribed to the Substack thus far. We at like 2,000 people strong on that thing. Got a few paid members. So it's really, I'm like 43 on the whole entire spiritual community list and rising. So that couldn't be done without people's support. Every day, somebody's subscribing, liking stuff and learning and all this type of stuff, man. It's great, great, great things going down at Substack. And that has been my infomercial, but also the best way to support this channel is a free thing that you can do, which is just simply like the video. It takes 2 seconds to do so. It brings more people to the content, whether live or post live, and it lets me know that you're enjoying the content. So now we're going to get into the Sabian symbol of the full moon, which is 27. And it made me think about this line from Andre 3000. I met a gypsy and she hit me to some life game to stimulate and activate the left and right brain. Let me cross reference something real quick. So just throwing that up there, right? Andre 3000 was born May 27th, 1975, which makes his astrological sun sign a Gemini. Just throwing that out there for the fam for the one time. So when we talk about stimulate and activate the left and right brain, that's still twin energy. Okay. I met a gypsy and she hit me to some life game. Well, that turns into the particular Sabian symbol, Gemini 27. Okay. What is 27 but 2 sevens? Okay. Twin energy. But the gypsy coming out of the forest, right? We talking about civilization. And that brings me to the conclusion that none of this shit is real. Because how the hell is we gonna have a civil war? See, that's like having you can't have a civil war, right? A war is not civil. A war is war, um, tribal, animalistic. It is everything but civil. Civil is civilization, civilized. Do you want some tea and crumpets, my good sir? Like that's civilization, right? But they say in this country we had a civil war, right? And the civil war freed the slaves. But then when you do deeper research, it's like the black people was already here. They was already in Florida. They was already in New England. They was already in now in all different parts of Ohio. Okay, all up and through Michigan and Canada. Okay, but then they say no, we shipped y'all here on boats and then we freed y'all during the Civil War. So once again, we talking about a gypsy coming out of the forest, right? Being able to see the forest from the trees. A gypsy in this particular concept is that of our magic, right? That of our spiritual journey, right? It will turn you into a gypsy. You go here, going there, going a little bit of everywhere. But according to the theme of the particular new moon, this gypsy is returning back to her tribe, right? Back to her normal life. And so it's And one way to look at it is like you left family and friends because they didn't agree with you, and you came back to family and friends because they didn't have to agree with you in the first place. You just had to figure out yourself. So you go back into this energy, right? Because the moon and the sun is going to progress into Cancer. It's going to progress into family. So once again, you don't lose yourself in the immersions of family, right? You don't get swayed or move one way for another, but you got to understand you cannot do none of this shit that you need to do by yourself. You need to leverage people in your life. You need people to help you out. You need to work with people, things of that nature. So therefore, the ability to work with people is also the ability not to be indoctrinated by people. And this is the gypsy coming out of the forest, coming back into civilization, coming back into not foreign terrain, very familiar terrain. The only thing foreign is how she works with herself, how she begins to understand herself in the dynamic of a household, right? So moving away from nature into more formal, structured ways of being in order to grow in consciousness. Okay. So once again, these are very specific terms that none of so I'm doing screenshots off websites, but I'm also doing screenshots out of books, and the books and the websites is not connected, the energy is not connected. This is my own due diligence and research, and I do this basically every video where I stack up all of these particular correspondences, right, to ultimately tell you one thing. The way for one to grow with this new moon energy is to welcome in structure and order based on the Sabian symbol, based upon the nakshatra, based upon mythological, esoteric understandings. Because you got the magic, you got the power, you are the gypsy. I met a gypsy and she hit me to some life game to stimulate and activate the left and right brain. Now, can you utilize these particular energies in a way where it's going to be beneficial to the collective? Because one of the Kabbalistic truths is okay, you receive from source. But what is the sharing component to your particular journey? How much have you been sharing? So finally, before we get into the new moon through the houses, we have the cards of the new moon. From the major arcana, we have the lovers, which is the card of Gemini. And from the minor arcana, we have the Ten of Swords, which is the card of the third deacon of Gemini, or the very end of Gemini. And so when you look at the Ten of Swords, you're dealing with what the Thoth Tarot calls ruin. But ultimately, it is the ending. But when we understand, overstand, and understand endings, they are also ushering in new beginnings. The idea of an ending is also a new beginning. They are synonymous. So when we are looking at this information from a perspective where we don't, like, we're not adept, we're not, progressed in this particular concept, we get sad, we get defeated, we get lost, we get dejected because it is quote unquote over. But when you are a naturalist, a herbalist, a spiritualist, a magician, an occultist, you understand and overstand that once the harvest is over and you peel up all of your old grains and things of that nature. You just prepare for a new cycle because April is going to come again, and you can prepare the land for April in November. So whatever is happening, whatever you letting go of, you have to begin to act in faith with the fact that the new beginning is synonymous. So when you do your new moon intention, you new moon intend from the fact of the new beginning. And you have the idea, and you also have the action, the faith and the work. My faith is saying that I will be in a new job. The work that I'm going to put in is going to go to this Google course and get my cybersecurity certificates in the meantime, in between time. By the full moon, I'm going to have my certificate. And by the next new moon, I'm going to have a job in tech. You can get a job in tech with no experience quicker than a month for free. Coursera, Google courses, things of that nature. But this is just one of thousands of opportunities available for human beings in this particular dimension. But if you're caught up on the particular ending of your last job that you love so much, then you won't be intentional about your new job. So finally, we're getting into, I know I said finally twice, and I'm nowhere near done. So we're going to get into the new moon in Gemini through the rising sign. So if you know your rising sign, you will understand and understand where this new moon is happening in your chart. I will explain to you where it's happening in your chart, but with each and every reading, we will break it down into the rising signs. All right. So we are going to utilize the mercurial ways of utilizing our mind, right? Because Mercury as an element is always moving, it's always active. It's not a solid, nor is it a liquid. So your mind is never sad. Sad is just a preparation for happiness. It's never happy. Happiness is just a preparation for sadness. You're going to experience all this good stuff, and it's going to be taken away from you. It's a CD by this abstract Australian group. I heard it in a coffee shop and put my phone up to the goddamn speakers. I gotta figure out what the name of this group was. Coffee shop music. The group is called This Mortal Coil, and they put out a CD in a year that I was born, 1984. It's called It'll End in Tears. Man, I think about that shit all the time. Like, you could be experiencing the greatest moment ever. That shit ain't gonna last forever. It's gonna end in tears. It's gonna end in tears. That's just the fact. So once again, the mind constantly weaving its way through life. So in order to get in control of the mind, setting an intention, working with your mind, we are going to reconsider, we're going to reframe, and then also communicate differently. Because if you can utilize these particular principles in reference to your mind, you could change any aspect of your thought. And, the thing that people thought would piss you off so much, you don't even care about because you reconsidered, reframed, and communicated differently. So give me a second. Give me a second as I pull up my slideshow. Slide to the left. Slide to the right. crisscross. So the new moon in Gemini, this is your rising sign reading. The Gemini moon, Gemini new moon activates a different house for every rising sign, reshaping how you think, speak, connect, and grow. Find your sign and discover what this cycle is asking you to reconsider, reframe, and communicate differently. So we are going to scroll down to each and every rising sign and ultimately each house. So to my Gemini risings, the new moon is taking place in the first house. And Gemini being in your first house, it is asking you to reconsider how you show up to others and why. Now, this is the filter you view others through, and this is actually the work that you still need to do on yourself. So, if you got a problem with somebody, so much so, then that's generally the work that you have to do on yourself. And that's kind of like karate type shit, like to really factor that in, because what do you mean? Right? I got a problem with such and such because he did such and such. This don't got nothing to do with me. And that's the literal work. We need to figure out why it bothers you so much. And ultimately, it's just asking you to reconsider, because the first house is how you show up to others, right? This is how people perceive you. And once again, how people perceive you when your first house is in Gemini is how you perceive yourself. They're picking up what you're putting down. So if Gemini energy is when I'm not in alignment with myself, other people aren't in alignment with me, and I might have a problem with them for not being in alignment with me, and I might try to figure it out externally. You can't figure none of this stuff out that's being laid out before me, any sign, externally. The problems that you need to figure out with Mercury and Gemini is 159,000% internally. Now, the messages, whether to give offerings or do rituals or burn candles or whatever the case may be, these are external expressions of internal directives. So to reframe, who am I is a draft or a work in progress, is not a fixed conclusion. In the nature of Mercury and working with yourself, part of the thing that's going to hold you back is being fixed in any position that you find yourself in. People change. You change. Are you allowing yourself that space and energy to change? You are a work in progress. So ease up on yourself and watch how others show up differently as you begin to do this inner work. Once again, this is when you're dealing with Mercury, you're dealing with a trickster, you're dealing with the ways of the world, the mysterium of the world. So at a certain level, it's some interesting stuff, but at a deeper level, this is the magic. Every mystery system, alchemical text is talking about Mercury. Why? Because when you start altering the inner frequencies, the external frequencies shift just like that. It's internal work. That's the key to this thing, not external work. And finally, communicate differently. Initiate with a new tone or presence, not just words. Set boundaries that keep you in alignment without creating conflict at home. Once again, as you begin to develop this internal relationship, part of you exploring what yourself is telling you is going to be based on boundaries. If you serve in too many masters in 2026, then you have created a life where there is no boundaries. And in order to bring yourself into a deeper, truer alignment with your authentic self, you have to have boundaries with people as you begin to explore yourself. The card that I got for Gemini Risings is the Eight of Swords, right? The Eight of Swords is ruled by Jupiter. And once again, there is no boogeyman. There is nobody chasing you. There is nobody holding you back. The only person that's holding you back, if you feel like you getting held back, Gemini Rising, is yourself. And once again, when you do the inner work, when you realize Mercury is playing a trick on you, or you playing a trick on yourself, and you say, well, what's the solution to this horrible problem I'm faced with, is the fact that you just simply have to understand and overstand that the inside creates the outside. All you got to do is download an app and it'll show you exactly where the new moon is at as far as the astronomics of it. So moving forward, the second house, the new moon is in the second house for Taurus rising. So shout out to my Taurus rising. This means that Gemini is in your second house. So Mercury is in your second house. Mercury is in your house of finance. Let's go. Mercury is also money. Okay, let's go. What is your relationship with Mercury as an entity, as an energy? Is he your friend? Is money your friend? Or is money something that you don't got a real strong relationship with? Taurus rising. So what's the ultimate goal of Taurus is to be, have money, have security. So a rising sign means that you rising into this energy. So what does this mean? You don't got a strong relationship with money, Taurus rising. Now, Sun and Moon in Taurus, they might have a strong relationship. Jupiter in Taurus might have a strong relationship. Mars in Taurus might have a strong relationship. But Taurus rising, right, at the onset of this actual realization that my Taurus is rising, I need to rise into the Taurus energy. So, how does one rise into the Taurus energy? Well, naturally, this puts Gemini in your second house. So, what does this mean? You have to build a relationship with this silly motherfucker named Mercury, right? He gonna play jokes, right? He be like, damn, I ain't got no money. What part of the game is that? I mean, everybody got some money. I don't got no money, right? Okay, well, you ain't been playing with me, brother, right? You ain't been playing with me, sister. Man, I got $2, right? Now, once again, when you start playing, when you reconsider your relationship, when you start to play, right? Let's look at the Voodoo Tarot of the Legua card. The Ishu card is seen as a little girl. What do a little girl want to do? She wants to play. A little girl is always down for the play. Like, you want to play, Shireen, little Shireen? Yay, we get to play, right? You get so serious with money, then you don't have a way to, play with it. Okay? When you talk about money, man, you talk about some serious shit, right? You getting so serious about your financial life. Well, reconsider the mercurial nature of your finances. When you actually value versus what other told you is valuable. So once again, they told you that this Balenciaga. My son has some DC United shoes and he loved those shoes. This just happened. I was tripping out like, why he love these skater shoes? He not really even a skater like that. He thought that the DC shoes was Dolce and Gabbana, y'all. He thought he was rocking some Dolces. I'm like, oh, it's making all the sense in the world now. He think that he rocking some valuable shoes. Like dad is going to buy him some Dolce and Gabbana so he could just run in the park with him. Like, oh yeah, like okay, you tweaking now, brother. But anyways, what is valuable to you versus what others told you is valuable? Reconsider that. Journal what do you consider valuable? What is something that you truly value? Write these things down. Taurus rising, money isn't and money isn't inanimate. It's a living thing that responds to how it's addressed. Now, when you read Money Magic by W.D. Frater, it's going to break into, all of the temperaments and the understandings of Mercury, where it's it is the sign of communication. And a lot of times people will translate it into how you talking to other people. But in the deeper esoterics, it's the way that you communicate to your higher self or the different spiritual beings within yourself. So reframe your relationship to valuables in its direct relation of your soul's alignment, the most precious commodity on the planet. So once again, to make sense of that, say for instance, you think that Dolce Gabbana shoes is so valuable and you're willing to do anything for Dolce and Gabbana shoes. Well, the idea is that you are putting more value on the Dolce and Gabbanas than your actual soul. So it takes some time and energy and wherewithal to simply just sit with yourself and value the time spent with yourself, the communications, the journaling, the work that you're doing to just feel good doing it. To therefore, you will understand that, John Kabat-Zinn's book, Everywhere You Go, There You Are. Is you taking yourself with you everywhere you go and you understand that you are this precious commodity, which is the soul, then you are going to boost up your law of attraction overnight. When you begin to value yourself, begin to value your vessel, begin to value your life, your law of attraction boosts overnight. And the simplest thing is to have a relationship with your mind that is very anchored into something that's much more powerful than yourself, but also communicating and addressing these particular principles with respect and dignity. What you attract is that alignment in material form. So if you truly understand and overstand the value of your soul, Taurus rising, you will be able to attract that in the same value. So the work is in appreciating and acknowledging yourself at a spiritual level and at an emotional level too, because this later degrees of Gemini will bleed and blend into Cancer energy. We also have Jupiter in Cancer, and in a hop, skip, and a jump, the sun and the moon is going to be in Cancer energy. So part of this particular energy is to stay grounded in how you particularly want to feel and coming into contact with that. Do you want to feel loved? Do you want to feel respected? Do you want to feel adored? All these particular things, you set the intention by feeling these things now. Communicate differently, speak to the soul directly. One of the things that we understand about our soul is that it wants the best for us at all times, at all levels, consistently, without a shadow of a doubt. The soul always wants the best from us. And this is the law of attraction, to know, to trust, to understand the levels of how you work with your soul and understand your soul is also going to be your law of attraction. So the actual mechanism for how you draw things to you from here forward over these next 2 days is developing a relationship with yourself, developing a particular communication with your wealth, begin to speak to it, understand it as a life, as a thing, right? This entity, this energy that is your wealth, right? And for a lot of us, we haven't had these types of conversations. Well, Gemini is the sign of communication, and Gemini is in your second house. meaning that your ability to communicate to these higher aspects would be your ability to manifest and bring it into this reality. It doesn't like to go unseen, it doesn't like to go unnoticed. And y'all card is going to be the punishment. I forget what this card is. This is, I don't even know what this card is in Rider Turret. Oh, so this is the Hangman card. So once again, look at things from a different perspective. If you have been experiencing the same thing for a long period of time and it's just been the one way for so very long, this is the time to shift the energy and like that Vic song, get silly, get silly with this mercurial soul type of energy, to whereas you begin to actually talk to it and work with it and communicate with it, because at a certain level you will start to see and understand it only wants the best from you. But if you ignore it, or ignore this ability of Gemini being in your second house, then you missing out on a bunch of money coming into your life. So moving forward, we have Aries rising, okay, where your third house is in Gemini, which is Gemini's natural place. So what you're also dealing with Aries rising is a, I would say, a double whammy of energy, right? Yo, this energy is particularly exalted. Everything that's going on in the chart is also going on in your third house, your house of mind and communication. So this brings up a Bible verse, Matthew chapter 7, verse 7 through 8. Ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find, knock and it will be open. So once again, setting your intentions with this particular new moon is very important for you, Gemini rise. I'm sorry, Aries rising. Aries rising because there's a lot of dominion, there's a lot of power, there's a lot of force in your being, right? Putting that out there. And then secondly, the ways that you communicate, the ways that your mind is anchored is going to actively support you moving forward, right? When you reframe your mind as something that takes orders from your higher self, not just something that you just using to think, right? It's just my mind. And I'm thinking, give me 1 second. Or, you, so when you like right directly, it's not coming from the door. It's coming from this truck right here. Mm, like, can you try to see if you can move like that desk? Yeah. Give me 1 second, fam. My fault, y'all. So basically, we're talking about backtrack Aries rising, where you have the this chart for Aries rising. You have this. Your chart is basically perfect. So every house is going to line up with its corresponding constellation. That's one level. This is a chart of power. So one has to specifically be in a sort of level of alignment with the universal energies to fully realize that power. So reconsider the small automatic stories you tell yourself daily, Aries rising. You rising into power, you rising into a level of perfection. Understanding yourself is kind of like, well, if I'm telling myself these great things, then I have the support of my chart. I have the support of the higher beings to manifest the great things. However, if I'm telling myself these negative things, then this is going to be my subconscious programming. This is a story repeated enough that becomes a self fulfilling prophecy, quietly directing the very outcomes it claims to observe. So, I don't want to be this. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be this. And eventually you created it because you didn't want to be it. So, how does one reframe? As something that takes orders from your higher self, not just noise. Seeking direction daily, since Aries rules the will, but the third house asks that will to listen before it speaks. So it's not just to act and act in this Aries principle, but it's to get direction from the higher self and to know that if I put this play into motion, it's going to manifest like that. Communicate differently, write instead of speaking, ask instead of asserting, and choose the question over the declaration, the pen over the reflex. Sit back, journal, think about things because you know that once you put your energy behind it, it's going to manifest because you've seen it happen for the good things, you've seen it happen for the bad things. And so manifesting is not always good, nor is it not is it always bad, but it is what it is. When you are specific and direct in your energy, then you will easily get to a point where you're able to manifest at a high level. Once again, Matthew chapter 7, verse 7 through 8 is saying, ask and it will be given to you. So ask those questions to the higher self. What am I supposed to be doing today? Seek and you will find. Once you ask the question and you got the answer and you look for it, you're going to get that particular answer. And knock and it will be open to you, right? The doors is going to be open to you. This is a process, but once you understand and overstand and understand the process, you're going to be able to get what you want at a high level. The card that we have for Aries rising is the Six of Cups, and this is the card of pleasure, right? This is the card of more or less getting everything that you want at an emotional level. So once again, to understand how to manifest specifically, it's not like, well, I want this and I want that and I want this and I want that. Generally, you want to be in alignment with how you want to feel. And then ultimately, if you do get it or you don't get it, you also get the reward of feeling the way that you want to. So, not to say that you're not going to get nothing, but you also understand the trick of this thing is to feel good the whole way through. And so moving on, we have if the new moon is taking place in your fourth house, that would make you be a Pisces rising. And so Pisces ruling your fourth house of Gemini. This is where your home and your roots are at. But also Pisces being a water sign, your fourth house being more of like a water sign energy, being ruled by Gemini. This is where you probably don't have a lot of boundaries. You probably don't have a lot of say so in your own personal life for whatever reason. I'll give you an example. Like your family have a lot of money. So it's just certain things you can't do that other people can do because you ain't about to mess up that bag. or even vice versa, your family don't got no money. So it's certain things that you can do that other people can't do, right? And you probably leave your family, get married, have another baby, and so you right back into this family dynamic again. And now you got a baby, and now you can't move the way you want to move anyway. So ultimately, you find yourself in situations where you have to constantly think about other people and factor in other people. And so that could be good or that could be bad depending on your individual temperament or your individual chart. But it's just something that you should take notice of, that, okay, all right, the reason why I'm so family orientated is, as a Pisces rising, is because Gemini rules my fourth. Well, my fourth house is in Gemini, and therefore I have just a deeper mental connection to the family. Whereas, I'm gotta think about the meal preps and what my kids gonna eat for lunch and what my husband gonna eat when he come home and all this type of stuff. I gotta pay the bills and all this type. Like, you just thinking about all these things that your kids, they don't come home like, well, so dad, what was that electrical bill like? How did that feel when you paid it? Like, we can have a sit down talk about, just the emotions behind you paying all the bills and support me. You're not gonna get those conversations. It's something that you're gonna do. So, with that being said, reconsider how your family has quietly outlined your life plan, often without anyone naming it. Be honest, is the quote unquote you landing last on that list again? Pisces risings tend to dissolve and whoever needs it the most. So stop disappearing into everyone else's priorities. So reframe the home, not as a place to stay, but as a temple. Once again, you're dealing with Gemini being in your fourth house. So your fourth house is a way to communicate to those ancestral energies and ancestral spirits. Altar work, ritual, and even consistent quiet moments or clean environments is going to keep you in alignment rather than just existing within four walls with all different types of personalities. Finally, communicate differently. Address any family patterns directly instead of repeating them. Don't just be like, well, my family always did it this way, so this is why I do it this way. If it ain't right, it ain't right. Notice it and make these changes. This sentence is rarely a reason, it's a repetition wearing the costume of one. So, once again, be able to change things in your life, in your household, based upon your communications, which will lead into direction or order. So it could be getting rid of furniture or reorganizing the living room or setting up an altar, whatever the case may be. But Pisces rising is a very spiritual rising sign. And Gemini in the fourth house, which means that your house is a very spiritual place, is more or less the temple, so to speak. So with that all being said, the card that we have for Gemini, I'm sorry, for Pisces risings is the Three of Swords. And so the Three of Swords, I got a thing now. I haven't seen this card in a minute. This is the card of, I gotta reflect. I ain't seen this card. Oh, I remember now. This is the card of sorrow, right? So family got you down, life got you down, everybody doing them, and you kind of losing yourself in this particular uh whatever we call this thing called life. So the key to this particular card is to enter into the womb of chaos, right? Don't try to change the problems, not immersing yourself into the problems, but just allowing them to be, you know, because it's everybody that's going through something, whether they making you the problem or not making you the problem. It's just all this particular chaos, right? It's like, a bunch of energy winding into a black hole, and you be watching those movies and get all this chaos, and then silence and quietness, pervades the area or the room. And this is just all to say that It's not always going to be chaotic. It's not always going to be crazy. At a certain point, you'll reach your silence, you'll reach your peace. Why not experience it now without trying to solve everybody's problems? So, moving forward, we have our Aquarius risings. That means Gemini is in your fifth house. That means your ability to communicate into your areas of romance and creativity are heavy. These are, the Eros energies, the Pambajiras, the Oshuns, the goddesses of love and sex and things of that nature. This is your domain. You're able to really tap into these particular energies. So, your Aquarius rising and you're manifesting, the type of lovers that your friends is like, girl, how you attract him? Or your homies like, man, how you get shorty like that? And it's just, you might not understand it or understand it, but you have a spiritual relationship with the divine feminine energies, and the divine feminine can manifest as masculine or feminine in this particular paradigm, but they always carry the particular energy of, being highly desired or highly desirable. So once again, Aquarius rising can mistake detachment for depth, floating just above real intimacy while telling itself it's above needed. Reconsider what it means to actually search the depths of yourself to connect with others. Because once again, when you're dealing with Gemini energy, it's like on the external, it's like, damn, you are able to attract this person, but it's not because you look a certain way, because I look better than you. And it's not because you got so much money, because I got more money than you. But you just able to do Gemini energy. When you master Gemini energy, you able to master your life because you master your life from the inside out. All levels of manifestation is levels of self mastery. So once again, you allow to connect to others in a very intimate way, but once you get into a level of self mastery, you don't lose yourself as you attracting things and people. So once again, Gemini energy is the establishment of boundaries in this particular world, because 10 times out of 10, the things that you're doing to get what you got, you're working hard to get it, even if it may look on the external like you're just doing it from a level of magic. So reframe the connection as a normal expression of being alive and not proof of being of your worth. So it's being with other people as Aquarius rising might be a challenge, but ultimately it's going to be even more of a challenge if you associate and being with other people as an establishment of your worth. Like, I'm with this person, so I'm better. No, 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 no. It's just normal to be with people and build with people and grow with people and learn from people. Like, and once again, the ways for which we're able to connect with other people, it starts with our ability to connect with ourselves, develop strong boundaries, that we're not needy in the concept of relationships, but we can thrive in these particular situations because we've self-mastered. We fully came into who we are, and part of life is to connect with other people, not lose yourself, not need, not being toxic, drama-filled relationships. No, no, none of that. So communicating differently for Aquarius risings is to genuinely enjoy being alive and connecting. Don't manage it from a safe distance, but true pleasure is an inside job first. Its completion is sharing that goodness with the whole world. So once again, Gemini being in your fifth house, if you can establish a level of bliss, love, deep attraction, then you don't just sit with those energies on your ass in your room. you begin to figure out ways to share these energies with, intimate connections or worldwide connections in reference to your career or talent. The card that we have for the Aquarius risings is going to be the Nine of Cups, which is also a Jupiter ruled card. The Nine of Cups is the card of happiness. So, once again, the level of which our quality of relationships are going to start with ourselves. If we are happy within ourselves, then that's what we can hope to attract. If we are lonely and desperate within ourselves, if we are lonely and desperate within ourselves, then those are the energies that we could attract or look to attract. So, with that being said, let's move on to Capricorn rising. Capricorn rising, that means that Gemini is in your sixth house of work, health, and routine. So reconsider what you're plugged into daily. Is the thing that you're paying attention to sharpening your craft and direction, or is it just some shit that you're doing to pass the time? So, are you listening to podcasts to help you build your business? Or are you listening to podcasts that make you laugh? 85 South. Nothing against, the Joe Button podcast, but you're not going to listen to the Joe Button podcast and learn nothing from it. So, for Capricorn rising, structure is the Dharmic path itself. It is the mechanism through which your blessings get delivered. So you wanting things to change, you wanting things to get better. The way for it to get better, based upon you being a Capricorn rising, is to develop a level of structure first and foremost. And you're dealing with your sixth house. Your sixth house is your body. So therefore, you got to be able to listen to your body, communicate to your body, know when to push your body, know when to, rest your body, things of that nature. Your body is always communicating to you. Okay. But once again, are you listening to this particular energy, and do you have a structure in reference to the building of your body, right? Capricorn rising that don't have no exercise, right? You would just be a person and be like, yeah, I'm a Capricorn rising. I sell little drugs here and there. I got the money, I got the bag, but I look crazy. You need to introduce some structure into your life, Capricorn rising, and therefore you will have the money in the bag and the body. Okay. Reframe discipline as care, not punishment, right? A schedule is accountability to your own intention. So Capricorn rising, you setting that intention to start that business in the next 28 days, at least file your LLC. And so if you set that intention, then you should have a schedule of when you're going to talk to the tax man, when you're going to go down to the bank, when you're going to set up that account, when you're going to do this, when you're going to do that. Because if you keep your schedule, then you also going to bring into alignment your own intentions. It's not a cage. It's not holding you back. So once again, if you're looking for a new place to stay, you're going to at least have to put into the offers, right? You at least going to have to go on Zillow.com and create an account. You can't say I'm looking for a place to stay. I need to move, but I'm not looking for a place to stay, because you're going to watch the news and they're going to say, yeah, the prices of rent, can't nobody get no place to stay. Everybody living in their vans. And then you going to think, well, that means me too. No, once you start looking, right, the magic is going to give it space to start to work. Oh, I can't find no car that I can afford. These cars are so expensive. But did you look? Sixth house, whereas, if Gemini is in your house of service, and once again, Gemini rules the sixth house as well. So Gemini is in your sixth house, it's going to teach you how to communicate in a different way. And the ways that sixth house in Gemini communicate, or sixth house Mercury's communicate, is communicating with your body. You can get another car, You can manage, because Capricorns, they like, I gotta get the bag, I gotta get this money, I gotta get this crib, I gotta get this lady, I gotta get this dude, I gotta do this, that, third. You gonna get another car, you gonna get another house, you gonna get another lover, but you ain't getting another body until you go to another life. Like Erica Badu, I guess I see your next lifetime, right? Your body is the only thing you got. And everything else, you can get another of it easy. It's all types of dating sites. You could tell her, hey, listen, I'm trying to go out to Ruth's Chris. I got $200 buying steak. She going on that roof. She going to eat that steak, bro. You going on a date. She'll be like, oh, ain't nobody ever spent $200 on a dinner with me before. You good. You good as gold, okay? You got $200, my boy. Don't even worry about it. Right? Listen to your body. Your body is telling you whether it need to go to the dentist, you need a massage, you need to go to the spa, you need to work out, you need to rest, you need to slow down. But you just trying to get the bag, you just trying to get the money, you just trying to live a life, but you ain't listening to your body. It's a lot of people that got the bag, but they can't spend it no more because they in one. All right, do with that knowledge as you will. The real question is, how many of those directives you actually follow? Are you listening to your body, or are you listening to your financial situation? Let's see what card we got for the Capricorn risings. I used to be a baller, shot caller, looking ass boys. The card we have for the Capricorn risings is the King of Earth. Uh, this is my moving card. This is the card I get where, maybe looking into a different home, maybe looking into a different city, different country. Part of life is to migrate, move around, things of that nature. And if it ain't happening in that part of town, move to a different part of town. You feel me? Moving on, moving on. Peace to the tribe, peace to the collective. We doing new moon, rising sign readings. At this particular point, we are at our Sagittarius risings. Sagittarius risings, Gemini is going to be in the 7th house. Gemini is in your sign of partnerships. Okay. So once again, Gemini is your mind, and partnerships is in the house of your mind. So what does this say? Your relationships don't always exist in the real world, do they? They exist in your mind. Well, I thought that you was going to do, I thought that, and maybe he don't like me no more, or maybe she tired of me, and you thinking this, and he just sitting there playing the new college football game. My man's just happy. He got damn Texas, you know what I'm saying? He done created him a running back. He trying to get his running back to the Heisman. My boy is in a whole different world right now. And she's like, well, he be looking at the college football game like he used to look at me. Maybe he don't love me no more. Hey, do you love me? Baby, of course I love you. I'm just, playing a game. It's my day off, Just want to, just relax. Can you make me some chicken wings and some beer? No, I'm about to go out because you don't love me no more. And then, you know what I'm saying? Reconsider the fixed story you have built about a previous or current relationship. You study a person, right? You study your husband, right? You studied your wife. And then one day, your husband, your wife, they change. You say, you know what, babe? I done changed. You know what I'm saying? I'm no longer the man I used to be. I just feel like making positive changes in my life and just bossing up, babe. I just feel like changing and being the woman God has called me to be. I don't know. I'm just changing for the better, babe. Your husband or wife listening to that shit like, oh, you don't love me no more then, huh? Why? Because he is Sagittarius rising. His Gemini is in the 7th house. He ain't in a relationship with you. His mind is in a relationship with himself, and you just the mirror to this relationship to their mind. And you done studied this person in and out. You know everything about them. Their favorite show is Seinfeld. Now they tell you that their favorite show is Martin, and now all of a sudden they don't love you no more. I would hate to have my seventh house be in the sign of Gemini. It will be hard because everything that my lover is doing, I'm taking it as an attack because I want you to stay fixed in this way that I'm thinking. That makes me feel safe. That makes me feel comfortable. But I'm going to flip the tables on you. Okay, I'm going to flip the tables on you. What if you changed the way that you was thinking about them? What if you gave them space to change? What if your mind was malleable just as their mind was malleable and changeable? You now are reconsidering the fact of them changing and you changing and having the communications around it. Now y'all got a real loving relationship that's not based on static. You be the same and you don't never change. What's somebody gonna tell you? Well, why you and Jermaine ain't together no more? I don't know, girl. He changed. Well, you know I'm supposed to change. Well, I took it as offense. I took it as a personal attack. The same respect that you want extended to your own evolution, Mr. and Mrs. Sagittarius rising, you got to give the same to others. And if you can master this particular paradigm, oh my God, your relationships are going to be the envy of all. I mean, some people are not going to get it and understand it, but those who like you going to be that one where your mind is not fixed on this particular person and you excited about their growth changing. Another flip side is if you are that type of person already and you were the person that don't want to change. That's a whole nother video at that particular point. Reframe the other person as still capable of change, and so are you. Like, once again, people, you in a relationship with somebody that's going to change. You are a person that's going to change. The things that you liked a couple of months ago, you don't like no more. You don't like that restaurant no more that y'all used to go to all the time. It don't taste the same. You don't like it. You have moved on to sushi. You don't like Mexican. You like sushi. When you're like, well, when we first met, we used to always go to the Mexican store. Yeah, I know. It's nasty now. I've been secretly going to the sushi place by myself. So you don't love me no more? No, I just don't like Mexican food no more. I don't love Mexican food. Right? If you was to able to fully grasp Sagittarius, the way that your opposite sign Gemini exists in the seventh house, you could teach a class, a master class on how to be in a relationship. Communicate differently. Finally, say the thing you've only been rehearsing internally. People need to actually know who you are. Think and speak like a river. When you think about the mind, think of a river. The mind is always flowing with different thoughts. When you're in a relationship and you can't say the thing that you want to say, that's blocking the flow of the ocean. That's going to block your blessings. That's going to block a lot of things going on in your life. So once again, let things move instead of holding them back. And if you feel like you with somebody that you can't be open and honest to, then you can't. Moving on, we have our Scorpio rising. You have Gemini in the eighth house of your transformation. This is a very spiritual place for you. This is a very spiritual place for you. Or hold on, let me go back. Sometimes I do that. I'll forget. Then somebody will comment, you ain't do Sagittarius rising. Car, you ain't pull a card for Sagittarius rising. So for Sagittarius rising, we have judgment, right? Ruled by Pluto, the ultimate transformation in your particular, partnership, relationship, way of being. Now, the key is change, alchemy. If you're able to bring about changes willingly, lovingly, then that's a beautiful thing. But if you ain't trying to change, your partner ain't trying to change, ain't nobody trying to change, then you going to be in a tough predicament. So back to Scorpio rising. The eighth house rules in Mercury or Gemini is in your eighth house, which rules transformation and shared resources. Scorpio rising, your natal house is going to be the eighth house, where your most comfortable, exalted house is going to be your eighth house, which has Gemini sprinkled up in there. And so Gemini is there to assist you to communicate like certain levels of flow, certain levels of prestige, but at a certain level, you're holding on now, just depending on who the person is, right? Because a Scorpio rising, this is the person who is able to manage and master a lot of resources and valuable things such as money, property, that type of deal. But for other individuals that hold on to things, right, the things that you hold on to becomes your claim to fame and your identity, right? Meaning that everything, girl, if you don't get your ass down off of that altar, my cat done jumped onto the altar, y'all. I just hope she don't knock down no glass. These cats is out of control. um, I don't want to scare her. Get your ass down. I don't know. I don't know what she on. There's all types of stuff up there. Get down. She trying to do the ritual already. It ain't even time for that. The new moon is tomorrow, girl. Familiars be tweaking, man. Give me 1 second. Let me move this girl because she is not listening. Do the ritual tomorrow. Goodness gracious. So reconsider what you're holding on to that needs to be released. A negative experience, an emotion, a thought on loop. Reliving trauma is like ripping a hot coal, expecting to burn the other person, place, or thing, but at the end of the day, it only harms you. Scorpio rising's whole reputation rests on the ability to evolve, to transform. And this cycle asks for the emotional intelligence, right? That is what Mercury in the eighth house symbolizes: emotional intelligence, the ability to have a certain intellect around your emotions, to utilize your emotions for positive things, right? Energy in motion, rather something that just takes you over, right? This cycle asks for the emotional intelligence to know what you experience was never the whole story, right? Is this thing is like that old Tupac song goes, life goes on. Okay. Reframe endings as part of the plan, not as a loss. New thought patterns will fuel new realities, ones that you let live in the totality of what's available instead of fixating on one wound as if it was the entire map, right? Learn to let it go at an emotional level and put some thought into the emotions. Easier said than done, but it can be done through a level of, journaling different alternatives to your serious emotions and serious experiences. Communicate differently. Be honest about need, debt, or desire to your partners or loved ones. Tell people what's going on with you instead of being in the background with it, constantly thinking about your emotional life, but not letting yourself be available to help or assistance or just for people to know, right? Transformation is going to live inside honesty, right? Transformation, you don't have to be a perfect caterpillar to transform into a butterfly, right? You just have to understand and understand the process. And part of transformation, a lot of times, is getting into a perfect environment or alignment, even though the past was so fucked up. So that's what this eighth house in Gemini is talking about for the Scorpio. We're talking about true transformation and the ability to override your long-standing emotions for, freedom, right? And your ex-boyfriend that he could have swore you couldn't get over him. It was, he was doing all of this toxic stuff. And then one day you just blocked his ass and he like, damn, I can't get in touch with her no more. I can't torment her no more, right? Because you have completely let go of toxic energies. So the card that we have for Scorpio rising is the Five of Wands. And this is the card of strife, right? And a lot of it is just energies and entities fighting over your particular energy. And ultimately, what they're doing for this particular new moon is distracting you. So I would say for any Scorpio rising going into this particular new moon energy is to find some time alone and not try to, you know, satisfy other people's needs for your energy. The only person's needs that I would satisfy for my own personal energy, Scorpio rising, is my own. Right? I'm tapping into my own energy for my own purposes, especially for this month. So, shout out to all my fellow Libra risings. That means that Gemini is in our ninth house. Belief and meaning. Gemini is the opposing energy to the ninth house, which is ruled by Sagittarius. And so, you know, this is more of a spiritual element within a spiritual element. So, Libra risings trying to master relationships, but also trying to master the inner concept of God or the external concept of God, however you're looking at this thing, right? This is just the part of us trying to understand it. So reconsider the meaning of life you observe by observing others versus what you sought spiritually on your own terms. If your circumstances look like the opposite of flow right now, sit still and ask what your soul has to teach you over these next 14 days. So ultimately, this is two things to reconsider, right? You cannot understand spirituality by looking outside of yourself, nor can you change the things by following what other people have done. There is a specific blueprint for you, Libra rising, that this new moon can illuminate for you, and the ways for which you connect and understand this particular paradigm is by understanding who you are at a spiritual level. So your ability to get into your deep spiritual work, not the things that other people have learned, but going deep within yourself, pause, meditating, um, rituals, all these particular things, the way that you see fit, right? This is going to be the ways to introduce a whole different system for you that you've been looking for. Reframe the spiritual journey as endless curiosity, not false mastery over the unseen. As a Libra rising myself, I came to this conclusion in reference to just spiritual understanding as a whole, where I find that a true spiritual understanding is not going to be located in the masses because it's such a personal thing. So, with that being said, it being a personal thing, I can never master spirituality in the concept of you, me, or anybody else, because when you think about the masses generally gravitate towards a quote unquote master. Whether that master can help them or not, people generally gravitate towards people who have already got clout. And that's just the way it goes. And that should never disrupt or hold up your spiritual journey, because once again, a spiritual journey is a personal journey. The cosmos was never built to be mastered, only approached again and again. So simply trade mastery for spiritual thirst, and only the divine gets to quench on its own schedule. So it's not going to happen overnight, but wherever you find yourself, right? Because, you know, this new moon is a very spiritual new moon for Libra risings. And with that being said, it is the thirst or the hunger for spiritual things that will only quench it, not the hunger or thirst for popularity or clout. So communicate differently. Teach or discuss ideas without needing to be right about them. A message spoken in truth will always find whoever is meant to reach. Ride the spiritual current without needing a reward for the road, for the ride, and become the great medium Libra rising is built to be. So the card that we have for Libra rising is the Six of Wands, which is a progression from the Five of Wands of Scorpio, but the Six of Wands is talking about victory. So ultimately, whatever you set forth with this particular energy, Jupiter rules this card. Jupiter rules the ninth house. And so when we talk about Jupiter, we're talking about Dharma. We're talking about living life the right way. So when you live in life the right way, as I stated earlier, there isn't this one set rule for living life the right way. It's just for what you deem personal, but it's not like, I can do whatever I want. It's also through having a deep relationship with your higher self. So, with all that being said, Libra rising, this new moon is a very spiritual new moon. So, I will also suggest some form of ritual, some form of ritualism. So, at this particular point, I was running out of slide space. So we're doing the 10th and 11th house on the same slide, but I'm gonna talk about them individually. And so for that, I will just share from the article. And so we left off at Libra rising, and we're gonna go into Virgo rising. So if you want a larger, more in-depth rising sign reading, you could do so at on my Substack, which is the first link in the description. The slideshow is just giving you kind of like a brief overview, but is much more broadened out on the article. And this is for paid subscribers, but I will let these last three go. It's going to be hard to read on screen anyway. So if you want a high definition reading of it, be sure to join the Substack. And yeah. So Virgo rising, this means that you're having a new moon in your 10th house. So Virgo rising, this new moon, setting the intention about your particular career or public role. This is in alignment with your spiritual development, not in alignment with kind of like getting a good job that other people said you should get. So reconsider the career other people once thought would be cool for you, and set it down in favor of the life work that actually let you serve the collective. So if you never thought about this will be a good month to just set your thoughts on, this job is cool, it's making a lot of money, but I know that my soul is not going to be completely at rest if I'm not doing something that serves my soul. So it could be, out of the kindness of your heart, or it could be something that you do to make a lot of money. But at the same time, right, you want to be clear that you are doing your life's work and not just trying to make money. If Virgo rising, if Gemini is in your 10th house, that means that there's some communication, there are some inner workings, there's some spiritual truth in reference to your 10th house. Your 10th house is conscious, right? Therefore, you can begin to communicate with your future or your career in a way like, well, what is my life's work? I have no idea. I've never even thought about it, but this will be a time to open yourself up to it. Reframe reputation not as something people simply understand you by, but as a direct expression of your integrity. So if you want to be the greatest, whatever the case may be, then you shouldn't turn it on when people are looking at you or waiting for people to hire you to be that greatest, whatever. You can take the time that you're not working or the time that you're not seeing to really solidify that point, to whereas you get to a certain level of success and people like, wow, you're so amazing, you're the greatest, whatever. But it's not a surprise to you because you've actively been doing it in the background for a long time. Communicate differently by stating your intentions publicly instead of letting the work speak entirely of its own. Once again, Mercury is in your 10th house. So you could have one of the greatest products, one of the greatest services, one of the greatest businesses, one of the greatest work ethics known to man. And you just showing up, and some people might know you great, but other people don't even know you exist for real because once again, Mercury is in your 10th house. Mercury is the planet, as the sign of communication. That means you're going to have to talk your shit one time or two times or three times or four times, right? You're going to have to talk your shit. You're going to have to let people know, yeah, I was the one who created that blueprint for the last schematics and the last project we did. I know Paul, he got the credit for it, but that was actually my idea. Every time we get these meetings, I be having these ideas, and Paul's still the credit because I'm such a good worker and I think it's cool. And I be thinking, Paul, he give me an extra slice of pizza at the company picnic, but I want more money. I want everybody to know that I was the one that created the last blueprint for that schematics. Oh, Jermaine, that was you? Yeah, that was me. You about to be elevated to a partner in this company. Them was the best. I knew Paul couldn't think of that shit. I just had to figure out who it was. It's you? All right, cool. You gonna get elevated. This whole time, you the one bringing in the coffee for the coffee breaks, and everybody just drinking the coffee like, man, this coffee good. And it's you the one that's bringing it. Oh, you need to cater for us. Well, I'm having a wedding next month. You need to be a caterer. Bring all that. Oh, you got bakery treats too? I knew it was your calling to be a caterer. You wasn't even supposed to be working in this mail room with us. Yep, it's your calling. You gotta make ribs from here on out. Ribs, coffee, and cake. That's gonna be the name of your business. Let's get to the tarot card for our prestigious Virgo risings, the owners of the first ever coffee, cake, and rib shacks coming to a town near you. And the card that we have for the Virgo risings is the card of peace, the two of discs. I'm sorry, the two of swords. And your ability to just meditate and reflect on what that might look like, what that might be. And if you get the vision for it, start talking about it. Start putting it out into the ethers. Because what God has for you, no man can take it away from you. Shout out to all of the prestigious Virgo risings. So we got two more signs to go. We have Leo rising, which means that the new moon is taking place in your 11th house. That means that Mercury rules your 11th house. So think about your thoughts in your mind and your intentions, and then think about your friends and family if they're able to help you and assist you. Now, if y'all can all work on this family business, all your homeboys can get together, put the joysticks down, and work on your barbecue shack that y'all about to build in a vacant building that was downtown, away across the street from y'all old school, whatever that looked like. You got an intention and you can't share it with your family, you can't share it with your friends. Leo rising, it's about the people that's around you that's going to help you realize your dreams for real. So I guess you don't even have to set your intention because you already know your intention. What you have to do is figure out how to be in the type of environment around people that's going to help support you. Now, I've been to coffee shops, I've been to bars, I've been to social gatherings, I've been on meetup.com and all types of shit, seeking out friends and people that I can build with. And I say that all to say you can too. So reframe social circles as emotional attachments you're allowed to take or leave, and not obligations you're bound to forever. It's not a big deal, right? Having social circles and things of that nature, having numbers in your phone is not a big deal, and you don't gotta like lose yourself like Eminem in these particular paradigms. Understand yourself is the key to Gemini energy. Once again, understanding, overstanding, understanding your true mercurial nature is the you know what they call Hermes stones. Hermes stones, and Hermes is another way of saying Mercury, right? Hermes stones, known in antiquity as Herms, were sacred square shaped stone pillars topped with the head of Hermes adorned with an erect phallus. They were acting as evil repelling landmarks. They were placed at crossroads, city gates, and property lines to protect travelers, right? And mark borders. Okay. So when we talk about Gemini energy and we understand it, we are really creating the boundaries and borders to ourselves that we could exist in any social circle, any family friend thing, and be perfectly fine in that environment because we understand who we are. When we are not fully involved in this particular area within ourselves, we might say, man, I can't do no events. I can't be around that person. This person pissed me off. I don't like this person. I don't like being around people. I don't trust people. This, that, and the third. Okay. This is all coming from a lack of inner work and understanding or having the boundaries within yourself. Because all of these things may be true about the external, but none of these things have nothing to do with you on the internal. The internal is where we do our work at, and where we're coming to cause an impact. So if you're coming to cause an impact, it don't matter how hard the ground is. You communicate differently by bringing a new idea to an old circle. And if they not really trying to start that barbecue shack with you, you find an entirely new circle built to hold it. And I know this easier said than done, but if you get active and expressive about who you are and what you actually came here to do, you will understand that isolation has its season and its value in that. But if you spend too much time alone, is never good for the soul. That was built quite literally to shine in front of the others. And this is what a Leo rising is that's the calling to the particular energy. So the card that we have for Leo risings is going to be the Knight of Water or the Page of Water. So this is getting a certain level of emotional grounding and also finding that person in your life that is going to be in sync with you emotionally. Y'all feel the same things, y'all vibe to the same vibe, right? If you can establish this emotional connection with this person, this will be the person that'll help assist you into your Leo rising teens, right? Once again, you can't do it all by yourself, but you can definitely do a lot when you have people that's on your same wavelength, right? So last but not least, definitely last but not least, we have Cancer rising. And so Cancer rising and Pisces rising, they mirror energies in this particular aspect. Where Pisces in the fourth house, Cancer is in the 12th house. Cancer rules the fourth house, and Pisces rules the 12th house. So these are the hidden aspects to the new moon in the 12th house is the moon that is attacking or associating with your unconscious or the things that you have to release, right? If you ever had a lymph node backed up, the thing that's going to release all the pain from that lymph nodes is when you release the fluid. So within this particular paradigm, you have Gemini in your 12th house. So that means that there are background thoughts quietly running your reality. The ones so constant, you don't even realize that they're even there. Reconsider how much of your identity has been built around your connection to others rather than something that's standing on its own. Reconsider your relationships, your expressions, and your intentions. Are they coming from the true, authentic version of you or from what everyone around you has come to expect? So basically, with this particular new moon, this is a moon to find yourself for yourself, not to find yourself so you can help other people be what they need to be. At a certain level, you need to help yourself be what you need to be. The essence of Gemini is very personal, it's very one on one. So even though we're dealing with twins, we're dealing with our higher self. And so for all signs, it is a greater call to bring certain energies to yourself. Whereas as we progress, this foundation or boundary that you've created would allow you to enter into Leo energies, Libra energies, Sagittarius energies with the proper perspective. You're not like Brandy and you want to be down with what they got going on. You're yourself and you're just seeing what if we have a mutual vested interest. Reframe participation as choice and not slavery. You're only a part of certain things and stuff that's going on because you want to. Don't get caught up in sacrificing yourself for other people so much so that you begin to disappear. Because in all of these readings and all of this stuff is to bring you to the light. It's to uplift you, to ascend you into a way where it's just, easy, naturally. But if the work is so hard because there's so much going on, then very simply, you have to cut off what's going on that's distracting you, what's disrupting and disturbing your mind. Because if you don't have clarity with your mind, you don't have anything. And so, what you need to do to put your child into school or to separate from your relationship or to separate from your family is just what you're going to need, is just what you need to do. Why? Because the communication here is nonverbal. And the most part, because when you think about Gemini in the 12th house, It is nonverbal communication, which is the most powerful communication, because not only do your actions speak for you, but just the things that you do speak for you. And people will get the message. So, once again, another thing in connecting to your higher self, the easiest way that you're able to connect to your higher self is through the dream realm. Cancer rising, you have Mercury in the 12th house. This means that your dreams is on fleek. But one level is I have these amazing dreams, whoop de doo. The next level is I got my dream journal out and I've been journaling and I've been making sense of what my higher self has been telling me. So finally, let's get a card for our Cancer risings. And we got the 7 of disc. So be so honest with people about what you're going through, even if it's going to make you not be in a favorable light. Because once again, we're working with endings. We want to bring about that ending, because when we bring about the ending, we also bring in about a new beginning. All right. So these are my final thoughts on this particular energy, on this particular new moon, where for me, it really showed me the power of the mind, utilizing the mind. This month, I had a lot of challenges that I haven't been faced with in my life, but I was able to, one, concoct a plan, and two, execute that plan and overrid a lot of those problems. I'm pretty sure that this is going to be the last video that I do from this home. As you know, me and my family have closed on a new home and we're moving into a new home. Um, and that's just what we're about to do. And so it's been such a long journey to tell y'all those words. I've been wanting to say what I just said for years. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to get too deep into it, because part of, my life is just being grateful. But man, I've been wanting to get out of this motherfucking house for a long, long time, and my mind was playing tricks on me at certain levels. I've been through some of the most craziest shit in this house, but to just finally be like, all right, we moving. Oh my God. I just feel like that's just one of the biggest blessings. And even if it's not a good situation, whatever the case may be, and that's why I told my wife, I'm like, the goal now is just to be in a situation where we will never be in a situation that we were just previously in. And if we were able to manifest and move in such a quick turnaround, what does that say about any other endeavor that we might want to do in the future? You know, and it's like, this particular level of being on the same path or doing the same thing, I'm done with that. You know what I'm saying? And it just feels good, all the work that I have done mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and trying to understand this energy, and it's like, and fully grasping it and understanding it, but then actually applying it. That's where I sit back and I just be like, man, if people can just listen to what I'm saying and start to incorporate it into their everyday life, I know it's going to change their life, because that's what's happening for me, So ultimately, I studied this information because I want to learn it, but I also want to share it to the collective so it can assist you. Because it don't make no sense to me to just sit and study this stuff for myself and say, wow, I'm grasping this, I'm understanding it, and woo wee, look at me. So part of this work is for, y'all to get into it, y'all to understand it. And if you're able to understand it, you know, there is no real limits unless it's limits that you put on yourself. And once again, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can DM me on IG. My handle is at the Hood Mystic. Um, but at the end of the day, I want you to get this, and I want to have more conversations about spirituality. Because even if it's a conversation that I can't answer, um, I want to be able to search for the answer. You know what I'm saying? So be sure to reach out, be sure to DM, don't be a stranger, and make sure you set your intentions based upon your rising sign, and try to realize and visualize what these next 28 days are going to look like for you, because this is your life, right? This is not nobody else's life. And if you're able to take control of your life, right? And another thing that I would like to say about this new moon, in studying the prodigal son and studying Rama's exile, that was like, it really hit for me, because it's like, you know, I could be down on myself so much, but it's these mythologies and parables that's out there to say, whatever you've been through, God's love is unconditional. You know, your mama's love, your kids' love, your ex-wife's love, that shit come with different conditions. But God's love is unconditional. So when doing this work, make sure you factor that in. Make sure you factor that in. And so with all of that being said, I hope y'all was able to take from this live what you were supposed to take from it. This has been the new moon in Gemini video. But if you want a more in-depth look at this particular energy, you could go to the Substack, get into the article titled A Ritual of Return. This is the second new moon in Gemini in the cycle. And as I stated, until next time, I will catch y'all all on the flip side. Peace to the collective, peace to the tribe. I will get up with y'all a little later. Peace.